Hi guys, it is Dom here from Soundspace. Just had the wonderful opportunity to chat to Julie Christmas and John LaMacchia of Candiria as well. In the middle of a rehearsal for some upcoming UK and European shows. Of course, we talked about the new album from Julie Christmas, Ridiculous and Full of Blood. Some of the inspirations, artistic and otherwise, creativity, Julie's amazing vocal, and so much more. So thank you so much for checking this out. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you, and obviously give lots of love to Julie and John. Go out and see a show if you can. And thank you for watching this. Thank you for tuning in. Speak to you soon. Take it easy. Fantastic. Well, yeah. So my first question, Julie, is obviously you've got this new stuff coming out. You've got a bunch of UK shows coming up. I wanted to ask you though, because you've had quite an extensive career. You've worked with a lot of different people, obviously different band projects. Balamai, Made Out Babies. Obviously, you've got your own solo record as well. How would you say you've changed and developed as an artist since the beginning of your career to where you are now? Because sonically, there's so much diversity, so much intensity in the sound. But for you personally, as a person, I guess, how would you say you've changed and developed? What have you learned about yourself through your
Absolutely
time?
nothing. Absolutely.
Right.
No, I think in the beginning, I think there was, when you're playing and you're young, first you get better as you get older, hopefully, that's hopefully part of it is experience. But I think if I had to really give you a quick answer, it would be that, in the beginning when you're playing, especially, when I was playing in, Made Out of Babies, the first, when I was playing in that band, there was not like, there wasn't like a really big place for vocals, so I feel like, there was a combination. There was like, I found, other artists who influenced me, but they were all, the artists that like influenced the, my work in that band or what I was doing in that band were when I like got really, I found like all of this great, Jesus Lizard and Unsane. And I was like listening a lot to that and also like just generally pissed off as a person.
Right.
So I think, and when you're playing, like as every, anybody who's in a band that's starting out, they could tell you that like your first shows are empty and you have to be ready to kind of like show everything, and you may not be, people may not like it, right? So there was there's a lot of like bravery that is involved, but I think it kind of forced me to maybe go too hard at times. Right. And I think that one of the things as time went on though, you start to recognize that there are other things that are as powerful as your feelings that are, as your like rage feelings. There are other huge feelings and those deserve a place too. And I think, that's how I've changed over time. I've sort of given a little more space to the other things that are, also part of being a fucked up human. And
yeah. I quite liked, I want to talk about the new material as well, and then we'll talk about the live show. But there was a quote in the press, the press release for the new stuff, and it really kind of caught my imagination. It says this story is a little different. It isn't a fairy tale. It speaks to how human nature defies categorization. The kindest person commits immeasurable acts of cruelty. The monster loves their friend. We are all like that. And I kind of wanted to. Is that a little bit of what you just said there? Like you can't, like you're recognizing that there are other feelings and other emotions there, or is that something much deeper? Is that a reflection on maybe how you view society as a whole or people as a whole? I don't know. That's probably quite.
I think like it's when you're, I think I'm like an all or nothing kind of a person, and I think that's just not really the way life actually is, right? You're not always happy. You're not always miserable. It's like an ebb and flow, and you just kind of like get used to change as you get older. And I think, what I was trying, and I find that like that, that like conflict, like the two conflicting things happening so close to each other is such a big part of like just being here, right? You're like terrified but excited, and like there's never one thing happening. There's never one solid state that you can like try to get to, right? There's all this like, I find there's a lot of emphasis on like being happy all the time, and there's like a lot of emphasis on in social media of looking fabulous, and it's just really not how things are, like
Yeah.
this thing of like, oh, everything is horrible and oh, I'm so happy, is like, it's not how it is. It's like there's a million different things happening all the time, and I think the faster you recognize that is happening, the more comfortable you are with yourself.
Yeah, I certainly feel that. I was raised with that, like, so I have a disability, right? So people are always like, oh, you've got to look on the bright side of everything. And that's great. And you can try and do that as much as possible. But actually, it's okay to feel
Yes.
the pain and feel
Yes.
the shit, I suppose.
For sure.
Sometimes, Yeah,
For sure. I don't know why. And I don't mean that, and I mean the other side of it too. Like
mm,
the getting, the people who are like always like, I'm so miserable today, my cat died, and my
mm.
fucking, my whatever the thing is, and then you turn on the news and you realize that your problems are really first world problems, and you should shut the fuck up. And I think
Yeah,
I think like that too is like always being down, always being up, always being in love, always being in hate, always being it's just like it just really isn't how things are. Yeah.
yeah. The reality, I guess, and I think that that is yeah, I think there's a really interesting concept, and I wonder, if I was to ask you about the new material and the singles that have come out, Supernatural, Thin Skin as well, is that thematically where you're putting this new stuff? What do those singles, those tracks, tidbits tell us about Ridiculous and Full of Blood? Like, what it would be unfair of me to say, what do you want people to take from the record as a whole, because we're not there yet, but where are you at thematically, and why did you choose those two tracks to to preface the record's release in coming up?
I think, the reason that Supernatural was chosen is because that song was written by Johannes. In this band, it's my name, but it is not my band. Like everyone is, working together. So I have John LaMacchia. These guys are in the next room, by the way.
Yeah.
So they could come and say hello.
Absolutely,
But
yeah, it's fun. It's all good.
but he, John and Johannes and Tom and Andrew and Chris Enriquez, like these, so everyone kind of has a voice here. I would not say there's a single theme except maybe the theme is like, I mean, I would be like the binding of the book, and they're the pages, sort of thing, like that. But maybe that, well, speaking to just the singles, Supernatural was, he started that one, and I think the reason that is one of them is because, when I started to write the lyrics to that, or maybe even earlier, maybe when I first heard it, I turned it off and it was like in my head for fucking days. So so it was just that one, and that's something, right? If it's like something memorable, that's what you want to lead with, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and there's also like, there's like a built-in, kind of wanting to communicate to the audience. Like for me, I actually don't really love performing live. I don't, but I am there for the audience, because it's like a level of communication you don't get in
Yeah.
everyday life, where you are like looking at them, and I can feel, the audience when they're there. And so, and it like, pushes me. And I even though they don't have microphones, there's, I can read their faces, and,
Yeah.
things like that. So in Supernatural, the chorus is written to try to get the audience to sing along from the first time. So I'm gonna, when we go and do this song, and you'll be there,
Well,
I'm gonna tell everybody what the lyrics are in that chorus, and hope that I get to hear them for one time, like that.
yeah, that's super exciting, and I can't wait for that. And I want to ask you about the live show in a second. But one of the things that also sort of struck me from the PR and the visuals is, you know, the artwork that you've come up with and the visuals for the videos, really striking. And I wonder how, I mean, every time I've sort of seen your stuff, every material, it's always had quite a strong visual lean, you know. For me as a listener, as a consumer, I wonder how much, if at all, the visual side of what you do plays an importance for you, Julie. Like, do you put much emphasis on that visual side?
John's here.
Hey, John, you all right?
So I would say that, you know, the visuals, there was a question about, you know, what should be the cover of the record. And I, you know, not that I'm a huge fan of this movie, but there was something, you know, so many of these things, like when we're working together, like so many things just come into your head. You don't have to really decide. And so when it was, you know, there has to be an image, you know, it has to be your face. I was not totally for that part of it,
Right,
but
right.
But if it had to be me, then I was like, well, there's this movie, The Hunger, with David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve, and it's a vampire movie. And
Great movie.
but there's a movie poster for that that I found that I liked, and then it's such a strong image of her, and it's just like sort of like a film noir kind of like a feeling. Is just really simple, like you know, like just a woman's face and the way that she looks, and then a black background. And but it's a vampire movie, so she's got blood coming out of her. She's got blood all over her face in the image. And then, you know, we tried to find a bunch of different people who might be right for that. I live in New York City, so there's a million people who could do it, but Alexis Sevigny, who runs Red Creek and who is putting out the label, that's Cult of Luna's record label. He had a photographer in Montreal, Fred Gervais. And so I flew up there and I worked with Fred. It was like, there's not going to be anyone better, you know,
Right.
like that in New York, even in New York. Right. And so there's not going to be anybody better. And then he had this incredible makeup artist, and these people were the most unassuming, the most talented, the coolest, quietest, most passionate group of people. I was really wanting to, like, you know, sing their praises afterwards, because the way that she tried to like do the makeup exactly the way it is, and she does. She like painted, so it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but it was better because she was better at it. The photographer was better. Just like when I play with these guys, it's like one of us comes up with an idea, but it's made better by the collaboration with people who know what they're doing. So I think that front image, also, I'll tell you this, that image that ended up being on the cover was not at all what everybody wanted. Everybody wanted this this ended up being one of the fights. This was a fight. Okay. Everybody wanted this, like, sort of like, it looked to me like a classic beauty shot, you know, a little bit boring, you know, just like, but this one is a little more fucked up. It's the way the record is. It's very clear to me that that was the front image. And so I thought that Alexis agreed, but everyone else thought it should be this other prettier kind of image.
Initially, that was for me. I was like, oh man, wait, you showed me one thing and it was perfect. And then this is it now. And it took me a moment, but the more and more I sat with it, I thought to myself, this is definitely the right decision, because it's just not typical. It's not, like you said, it's not such a typical like beauty shot, and it's unique and different.
And the more you look at that, I think, like, you start to notice other things. The way he did that is he got like, he had his camera and he was put like a Pyrex, put like a baking dish down that's why my face is stretched out. That's not like, that's like really the way the photograph is, because of this glass that this trick he had. And then but I really like the way the smile is too wide over here.
It looked really cool, like, you know, just like creepy.
There's a little bit of a Deliverance.
Yes, totally.
it's the sort of obscuring of that classic shot that you maybe argued against. It's the obscuring of that, you know, the kind of there's something really special about it and really beautiful. So I just kind of wanted to ask you about it because I just thought that just grabbed me. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
really well done.
Great.
I got a few more that I want to ask you. And once again, I appreciate both of your times here. What have been some of the most exciting challenges for you? You know, collaborating again as a group of musicians, putting this stuff together. You know, I'll ask about it in a live context in a second, but doing this record, pulling it all together, what have been some of the most exciting moments, but also, if you're willing to give me some of the more challenging moments that you found working together, building this record?
I think personally, one of the most challenging things for me, well, for me in my mind, for everyone, is figuring out what was right for the record. Because I mean, you know, everyone in the band is so talented, and you know, I feel very fortunate to be able to work with everyone in this band, and everyone can bring something really amazing to the table. But what is it that's going to be right with the rest of the music we're working on? What's going to be right for Julie's voice, and you know, what's inspiring? It's just that to me was a difficult thing, figuring out what was going to work for the record. Other than that, I feel like a lot of the process, like making time, like because everyone is so busy, that was another challenge. But once we do get together, it's just like it's really great working with everyone in this band. So you want to answer that?
No, I think he's right.
Yeah.
It was I forgot about that. I forgot, like, there was moments where there are some tracks that didn't make it on, you know, and we made those, went all the way through, like, should this be here, and that kind of thing. But so that was a little tricky. I don't know if I think he covered it. It was like the what to put where, what pieces of the puzzle fit, and then just making it work time wise.
Right. Yeah. I think one of the most exciting moments was we were toward the end, and one last song came up, and it was at a point where we were like, wow, another song. Holy crap. This is like, you know, we just didn't know we had another one in us. And it's a song called Lighthouse. And it was one of the only times, I think at that point we were so comfortable working the way we were working that everyone kind of like just fell into place and just got into gear and was like, okay, we got one more to do. Let's see what we can come up with. And we all worked basically separately on this. And then everyone sort of sent Andrew ideas, and he just made this incredible mix. Julie came up with these incredible lyrics in this incredible song. And to me, it was one of the shining moments where it was really one of the most collaborative songs that we worked on, and everyone just came up so big for it. So for me, that was a big moment. And in like the final hour.
Yeah.
But who wrote that? Didn't Johannes start that one?
Yes, Johannes started that one, and then he sent it around, right?
Andrew's bass line on that song is based on this dance company. It's called Batsheva. It's an Israeli. Do you know them?
I may have heard the name, but tell me more.
Holy shit! You have to see this. It's like an Israeli dance company, but we went to see them, and there is one point. There's one. This is a wild thing to watch. Even if you don't like dance, this is amazing. And during one of these performances, there's a woman, and she's on a treadmill. And she's going like the amount of, like, she's going high speed on this treadmill, but she does it for the entire show. Like, I don't know how it's over a marathon, but she's running at the same speed through the entire thing. And that impacted him. And that's why his bass line is like, you know, the same all the way through the song, which is actually kind of hard to do, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've played in some drone bands before, and it's actually more difficult to maintain the drone. But yeah, again, another question in terms of the live aspect. You know, we'll do the promo questions and winding up in a minute. But I do want to ask, obviously, again, as someone I've never seen you play live before, I'm very excited to be at that lead show. You know, what is the significance of doing these shows, coming to not only London, not only Acton, but also going to Leeds? And also, I guess, as another question, a question within a question, what are the challenges of bringing this record and the intensity that I listen, you know, again, beautiful moments, but very intense moments, into the live space, you know, small and large as they will be?
I can answer that one.
Sure.
So we're actually working on that right now because when you are making music together and it is you know, you never want to, we would never go on stage and make a shortcut, you know, that's easy for us but sacrifices the music. But there are choices, like there's choices you have to make. I can't sing these parts at the same time, so I'll take the hardest one, and then these others have to be on backing tracks. And we got away from that. The guys are singing a little bit more on this one. Tom Tierney, Johannes, of course, is growling, and Tom and Chris and Andrew, no Andrew, but Tom and Chris and John are all singing on this record. And so there are some things like how will this record that we actually made separately and digitally, how do we get it to be what choices do we have to make that are going to make it possible to do it live? You know what I mean? So it's like, and I think, you know, experience really helps here because we're all on the same page about that. It's not making it easy. It's not, you know, it's not necessarily that. It's like, how do we, you know, stretch a sound here because the audience needs a second, or how do we put this sound here so the guys can tune, you know, like a different key, like all of that stuff is like, that's the challenge of putting on the live show. And then we have like some other things happening. It's like, how does the lighting work? So we have like an amazing lighting designer. Her name is Laura, and Patty Gilstrap. She makes these light up dresses. She's an old friend of mine, and she's making like superhero costumes for Marvel, and then coming and you know, doing lights on my dress. It's really a collaborative experience bringing the show forward. And I will tell you that, you know, for every band that you see out there, there's like a half a dozen other people needed for that to happen, like a front of house, our Christoph Noth, and and they are their own unbelievably talented people that you don't see, you know? So I think that's the challenge. It's like those people are almost as important as who is in the actual band. And so like the challenge is finding them, you know, how do we make it all work? What are the 15 of us gonna do? You know, like that kind of stuff.
But then also, I think the cool thing is there gets a point where like, okay, we did the work, we rehearsed, now let's get on stage and like not only put on a great show, but like also have fun and sort of live in that moment and be really present and create energy, you know, create this energy that we're all capable of creating.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of my, you know, kind of roundup questions really, was the energy that you guys have. I've seen like live clips of you of like bands play before, and it does feel like there's this energy there that's just super intense. So as Julie, you were telling me earlier, you're not necessarily a super confident performer and stuff. So where does that, is it like an indescribable thing? Like, do you all just come together naturally? Does it just feel like a vibe that you just click into when you play shows, or is there some anxiety there, and does that play towards the energy and the overall I'll keep coming back to intensity, you know, of what is the final product, as it were?
For me, it is like you know, it's terrifying before you get on, right? That's like, that happens. But I think you know, like getting on stage is something that I almost, you know, like, you almost have to train for it. It takes so much. When you're off stage, you are dripping in sweat. But I think it's another reason why the cover image was the right image. It's like, if you're doing life the way you should be, then these moments that are like this, you should be like jumping all in, and it should be everything you have, and everyone in the room deserves that. And so like, it's almost like out of respect for the audience that you never shortcut a live performance, even if you come out of that with like bruises or whatever. You do it the way it should be done.
Right. Yeah. Is that how you feel as well, John?
Yeah, definitely. For me personally, getting on stage, especially with this band, with Julie's particularly, I definitely get a lot of confidence from her performance. Like I'm very inspired by performing with her. when I'm on stage, I'm definitely
Shouldn't
feeding
be.
off of her. I'm definitely feeding off of her energy because I know she's there to, like she said, to not shortcut the audience. She's there to give it all. And she does every time she performs. So I'm definitely like, well, she's going to do it. I'm going to.
I wanted to ask, like, the root of your vocal, the root of your voice. Can you take me back to the very first time you figured out that you could do that? Like, do you know what I mean? Again, it goes back to that intensity and that energy that you guys are talking about. For me, it's in that vocal. Everything is there, and it's just pure energy. So, can you tell me, like, when you first discovered that, Julie?
When I first discovered that if I started singing, other people would listen.
Yeah. Well, just your voice. Yeah, just your voice and what it could do. And yeah, I guess, yeah, if you want to bring that in.
Well, I think I never thought about that. But what comes to mind is like singing in like a big drunk Irish family where it's like St. Patrick's Day and everybody's, everybody's like, my family is like very loud and very big, and they are musical people. I think every one of my uncles, I've got like 16 of them. I've got like every one of my uncles plays an instrument. They're all the kind of people that you don't want to get into a fight with. And I think, so there was a little bit of like growing up in that. I grew up in like a kind of like a really fucking crazy house,
right,
where noise and chaos was frequent. And I think so some of it is like just childhood trauma. And then I think I started to see if you start singing from an early age, like what I think would happen is like you start getting, like, once you start going to school, you could start getting picked for things, right? Like I would get picked to be like the singer and the solo in this song. And then, I don't think I ever had a tremendous amount of confidence, like, oh, this is something I can do. And when I do this, it's like very powerful for other people. You don't put that together. I still don't think that that's necessarily true. It's just not something that you think of when it's part of you. But I did, if I had to say it, I would say like early on, like a sign that that this was something I could do was that first, actually, it would be like the feeling I get inside when I'm doing it is like unbelievable. It's not always, I think that's why I have difficulty making music, actually, because the feelings that are involved are like way too overwhelming, so maybe that was part of it. It's like the feeling inside coupled with like, other people sort of in my life noticing is like, maybe that's the right answer.
Yeah. I always wanted to ask you that question, so I appreciate the honest answer. I remember, again, just I'll never forget it, actually, the first time I heard that vocal and that kind of intense sound. So the winding up question then, because I want to do some promo stuff. Obviously, the album's coming out very, very soon. Is there anything else that you want to plug aside from the record, June 14th? People can pick it up. But is there anything else that you guys want to plug? I'll open the floor to John as well. Anything you want to promote? This is basically where we check I've done my job properly. Anything you want to promote that I might have missed that you want to plug before we finish up today?
The only thing I want to do is I want to make sure everybody knows about the people I'm playing with, because it is under my name, but Chris Enriquez is in Spotlights, and
I love Spotlights too. Fantastic.
Yeah. So he's doing a bunch of stuff. They're gonna be playing some shows that we're on, and Andrew Schneider he worked on the last Kenmode record, one of the most talented engineers around, and Tom Tierney is he's recording and working on really cool sound projects. Patty is making superhero costumes. John, I mean, like there's like a lot of different stuff going on. And Johannes, of course, is in Cult of Luna and a director, right? So it's like everybody, I think I would plug these humans and just say that we can, whenever you're like hungry for excellence and you're, whether it's like film or you can look for these names and see what they're attached to, and get some good get some good leads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet side.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
Cool.
I'm 100% sweet all the time.
all the time.
Right.
That's right.
Right. Well, guys, I'll let you get back to your rehearsal. I'll be coming to the lead show to see you. So thank you so much for making the time to do this as well. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I can't wait to see it live and catch up with you again soon, hopefully.
Yep.
Next
Ridiculous
time.
and Full of Blood. Ridiculous
Yes.
and Full of Blood. Out
Absolutely.
on June 14th.
Absolutely, guys.
All
But
right.
we'll get everybody in next time. We'll just squeeze everybody in.
Yes, that'd be great.